This prayer is called For an End to Mass Incarceration. Jesus Christ, Son of God, who promised in your first sermon to break the chains of the oppressed and to set the prisoners free, break apart our wrecked and ruinous criminal injustice system. May we not only visit the sick and imprisoned, but support smart legislation, protest, and incline our hearts towards rehabilitative justice and the abolishment of human cages. Amen. Mass incarceration is a social justice issue, probably one of the biggest ones of our time right now. The need for a criminal justice system is definitely there, but as a society, we need to do a better job of how we try to correct behaviors that are problematic to the society as a whole.
I think one of the things that we have to do is get out of the spirit of America and get back to what Christians are supposed to be. We're called to love those who are different. I think it's to demonstrate to the world how to love the unlovable, but also give, inmates and returning citizens the tools and resources they need to fulfill what God has called them to do, which is really redemption at its finest.
There were many shocks when I was released, things that I didn't know would impact me. The biggest was when I went in to use the bathroom after I'd been released. It took me probably 10 minutes to get out of the bathroom, and I was in tears because I didn't know how to turn on the water. They had taken away the knobs while I was in prison, and they didn't tell you that there's a sensor under there and you put your hands in. And so I just kept trying to hit on them. I'm all soaked up and I'm trying to figure out how to turn it on. And it's embarrassing, it's shameful that I am 39 years old and I don't know how to turn on the water. And how do I explain to people that I need a refresher course on something as basic as that, as simple as those moments?
Things had changed. Getting out of prison I was excited, but I was fearful because things had changed. It wasn't the same place that I left. I had been gone for 10 years.
How do we walk with folks who have been incarcerated and are now in our community? What does it mean for housing? What does it mean for food? What does it mean for them to find a job?
Why keep punishing me? It turns from punishment to torture. I can't repent anymore. I can't be any more sorrowful for the crime that I committed. And so why keep torturing and not saying, let's give this man another chance to society?
The stigmatism of being in prison, even though I've been proven innocent, you're never gonna get past that. You're always gonna have people looking at you like you're a criminal, whether you've served your time, been proven innocent, whatever. Once that is in place, there's no help.
The Christian church needs to stand up that humans are not slaves, humans are not to be used in such a way for corporate gain for others. And the Christians have to speak to a different model of behavior correcting. And the hope is, restorative justice might just be that answer if Christians would just step up and look at it.
I think if our whole criminal justice system were able to operate restoratively, we would be able to decrease the number of people suffering in incarceration, and we would be able to increase the number of people that feel like harm from crime is truly addressed. I think if we could interrupt the cycle of violence by introducing restorative justice more broadly into our system, we would have less fear of people and people that we call criminals in our society. We would have less anxiety about living in community with people that are different from us. Restorative justice is about giving people voices and giving people the tools to resolve things for themselves in the way that best meets their needs. I think we would all be healthier.
I think we have to change some of our theological references when it comes to changing our mindsets on others. So I think once we start to understand that we have to renew our mind to be able to see others the right way. We're going to have differences, but did you learn how to love and work with those who are different from you? And one of the things that you have to compete with is the spirit in America, because the spirit in America has a way of saying we all need to assimilate, but the assimilation, what they're saying is really turn everything vanilla.
I think more than anything, if you are a person of color, if you are poor in our society, the likelihood of you actually going to prison is higher than those that have privilege, than those that are white.
You can just resemble someone and be walking in that area. You might be on the way to a friend's house. You could be riding in your car and someone has done something and you know nothing about it, and you're pulled over just because you're black and questioned and drilled. You might have to go to the police station and you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. You're guilty for being black.
The high rates of incarceration for African American males started almost when we stepped off the boat, right? We were already the cast out, and we were only here for financial gain. And so when the system is built on a particular people only being used for economic factors, even when the laws say that needs to change, right? The mindsets of people didn't change. They just shifted the way in which they made money off this particular product of black males.
the mass media paints a picture of others as savages, as inhumane, and this fear creeps into the dominant white culture. And the dominant white culture will do almost anything to eliminate their fears, even to the point of mass incarceration.
In the way that our private prison systems work, there are various corporations that are within those prison walls. So they make everything from like lingerie, they make mattresses, they make RVs. And so those corporate companies that are working within the prison pay them on an average probably 50 cents an hour. If we remove corporate America from the prisons, where they couldn't do that in the prison, they would then have to have the labor force outside of prison, and that then is $15 an hour to do those exact same jobs. The amount of crime in our communities would go down because people actually had jobs so they could buy the things that they need, and they wouldn't have to then go out and commit crimes just to survive.
Our mandate as Christians deals with responding to injustice. We can't say like Micah 6:8 and say we love mercy, we want to do justice. No, I think part of our work is to respond, to identify what is injustice, and then respond to undo injustice by exposing it and by walking with those who have been victims of the injustice.
The church first and foremost has to separate itself. We are the church, we are not the world. And so the church first has to say, I am and we are followers of Jesus first, above country, above everything else. We are followers of Jesus. And how would Jesus walk in these settings? You know, that which you did to the least of these, you did also unto me. And so church has to say, if this other is the one that is struggling, what is my role as a Christian to help move them to a place of stability, a place of love, a place of hope? So that means we all have work to do. So one of the biggest things the church has to understand, the church has to get to work. And we've been sitting on the sidelines just a little too long. It's time for us to get to work.
The other part of it, I think we look at this as a spiritual part, not just physical, us responding to them, but really this is about us understanding them. Hebrews 13:3 talks about we have to remember them as if we ourselves were in prison with them. What would it mean for me if I were to walk out of prison? What would I need? And ask ourselves that and then become the answer for that.
One of the things that MCC is going is partner with churches and community centers of the Anabaptist faith by allowing myself, to go into the prisons to work with the inmates and returning citizens in a relational way, not just from a mass way, but hand to hand, we can get things done. Care kits are made up of a t-shirt, a pair of underwear, a pair of socks, a bar of soap, a tube of lotion, and a tube of toothpaste. These kits are tangible hope to those who are in despair.
And oftentimes the most impact can be done by working with legislators. And we have a Washington office that deals specifically with these issues.
Things I believe that Christians and Anabaptists need to do is bring their gifts to the table. Mass incarceration is a wide spectrum, a big issue that has different layers and different ways that you can address it.
I think it's important to know that whether you know about the criminal justice system or not, that you have something to offer. It doesn't always have to be money. It doesn't always have to be a law degree. It does not have to be anything more than your time and your voice. If you hear me and you realize you have a beauty shop and you could give somebody that comes out a free haircut and boost their self-esteem and help them move forward in their life, that's something you can do that you do every day. If you feel like you have a half an hour to show somebody how to work a cell phone or turn on a computer, that's something so simple that costs you nothing but a little bit of your time. And if you are so busy that you have no time to give, if you remember my story and you remember the things I have went through and what I have faced, when it comes time to vote and you apply that story to what those candidates are saying and you vote the right way, you're helping in your own life to make a change. And I encourage everyone to find out what they can do to help in their own way.